Withdrawing from Gaza, Israel has expanded its control, demolishing entire communities and occupying more territory.
We were at 50%, we moved to 60%, and my directive is to move to first 70%. Let's start with that. Squeeze them from all sides. We will deal with what's left later.
The killings also continue. Israeli forces have killed at least 1,000 Palestinians during the so-called ceasefire, in place since October 2025.
So as many people killed as on October 7th, that's why our press has said almost nothing about it, because they're deep racists who don't think Palestinians are human. That's almost every cable news anchor in America and every mainstream media reporter. Now they're not going to tell you what we're about to tell you, which is that Israel's about to stuff 2 million Palestinians into concentration camps. Anna, tell us more.
Well, Cenk, I think that we should be fair to the Israelis. We don't know if the population of Gaza is at 2 million. They've killed so many people, and the official death toll is about 75,000 individuals slaughtered by the Israelis, of course. But that number is likely to be much higher, so we don't actually know what the current population of Gaza is. But with that in mind, you're absolutely correct. They are, in fact, done building a massive concentration camp near the Rafah border, and I want to give you some more details about it. So according to the Israeli paper, Israel Hayom, which is owned by Miriam Adelson, they're the first ones to report on this. So I want all of the Israel glazers to understand, I am sourcing this from an Israeli publication. I'm not making it up. This isn't from Al Jazeera, which I find to be very credible. But nonetheless, here's what they're reporting. The Board of Peace, remember that? The Board of Peace will launch a pilot program in the coming weeks to manage humanitarian, they call them shelters, in areas of the Gaza Strip that are not under Hamas control, Israel Hayom has learned. So understand what they're doing here. They are framing this as, we're just looking out for the Palestinians. We want to separate them from Hamas and keep them safe. In these concentration camps, of course. Multinational forces under the Board of Peace's management will also arrive in the area and will be based at a facility built for them at Camp Amite near the Strip. They are expected to be equipped with non-lethal weapons, I'm sure, to maintain order in these humanitarian zones, while the Israel Defense Forces will continue to hold its positions and deepen its grip on areas beyond the yellow line. So that goes back to what you could hear Benjamin Netanyahu say at the very beginning of this video. He says, look, we're expanding to control 70% of the territory. Let's start there. But make no mistake about it, they intend to take over the entirety of the Gaza Strip. And in an effort to do something about that pesky Palestinian problem, they're just gonna stuff them into concentration camps. Now, in reality, this is going to, radicalize even more people. So let me explain how. The Israelis think that placing Palestinians in concentration camps will somehow defeat Hamas. Israel Hayom further writes, as long as Hamas remains armed, the Board of Peace, the Israeli political echelon, and former senior military officials argue that this is a way to deepen the blow to Hamas by disconnecting it from the population. The IDF will continue to deepen its hold on territory in the Strip and bite off more areas under Hamas control, while the Board of Peace will bite off population from it. Later, according to officials who have seen the plans, the hope is that Hamas will be left without population, territory, and resources, and that this will be the way to bring about its elimination. But anyone with two brain cells to rub together understands that when you stuff millions of people into concentration camps, what tends to happen in that situation? They become radicalized. If they aren't radicalized already, considering the fact that many of these individuals have had their entire family members wiped out through Israel's endless bombing campaign, slaughter campaign in the Gaza Strip. And it looks like the set is being staged for more slaughter. So the Board of Peace officials say that the intent is for the area to not be a prison. They're assuring us, no, this isn't gonna be a prison, don't worry. They claim officials familiar with the risks warn of similar phenomena that occurred at food distribution compounds. So basically what they're saying is, Look, we need to be a little bit careful though, because as we know, things got a little bit out of control as these starving, intentionally starved Palestinians were lining up for food. Now, does Israel Hayom outline the fact that they were shot at and killed as they were waiting for food by IDF soldiers? Of course not. They claim that Hamas could control civilian movement into and out of the humanitarian compound. I love that they're calling concentration camps humanitarian compounds. Prevent it entirely or use it for its own purposes. So they're already setting the stage for Hamas is going to use these humanitarian camps for their own purposes, which paves the way for Israel to do what, Cenk?
Yeah, so look, this is now absolutely clear and obvious what they're doing. And before there was at least an excuse that the media could use saying, well, we don't really know what Israel's gonna do. They say self-defense, they say October 7th. Now that happened 3 years ago, but it doesn't matter. They get to do self-defense for decades if they want, and no one's ever allowed to resist them. We've been through all that, right? But they said, you guys are being ridiculous and conspiratorial about this saintly, beloved, wonderful Israel. They're of course gonna give Gaza back. This is about self-defense. Once Hamas gives the hostages back, they're gonna withdraw from Gaza. In fact, that's in the peace plan. Step 1 was getting a ceasefire. Step 2 was Israel withdraws from all of Gaza. Now, is Israel ever going to listen to a peace plan or a ceasefire? Of course not. So they murdered over 1,000 people during the so-called ceasefire, and Hamas has not attacked Israel from within Gaza in that time. So only one side has violated the peace deal, and that's Israel. Only one side wants endless war, that's Israel. Only one side is setting up a giant concentration camp, that's Israel. All of these things are indisputable. Did they give the land back? Of course not. Not only did they not give it back, as you just saw, Benjamin Netanyahu with this big smile on his face, I will use that 53%, now 60%, and now 70%. And so, and our media goes, I don't see it. I never am going to cover Israel honestly. We're all still going to pretend that this is an ally. No, this is a sick fascist government. So is it a concentration camp? Is that fair? Well, they're saying that they're going to stuff all of the 2.2 million, at least that we had people in Gaza before Israel started their slaughterhouse, into potentially just Rafah city. So they'll just take all of the rest of Gaza and set up this big concentration camp. Now wait, how do you know it is? I mean, I hear that Israel is the best democracy in the Middle East, the only democracy, right? So I'm sure that since the Palestinians are under Israeli rule, they get to vote, right? They get to go about their business and do anything they like. No, of course not. Voting, of course, the Israeli government has already voted that they will never, ever allow the Palestinians to be free. Again, we have to go and get that from the Israeli press, because the American press will not report anything that is critical of Israel under penalty of law. So they're like, no. God forbid if the American people find out how vicious and disgusting the Israeli government is, they might not finance every single atrocity that they do. And of course, American media would cry over that. Their beloved Israel has to get everything, right? So I'm challenging everyone in mainstream media who said that Israel would withdraw, that Israel was the victims in doing self-defense. Are you now going to be honest with your audience, with your viewers and readers, and tell them that you were wrong, at a minimum, if you weren't lying, that you were wrong, that Israel did plan to keep Gaza? It was not about self-defense, it was about conquest, and they're bragging about it now. And yes, you cannot leave that concentration camp without permission from the guards, the fascist guards who are guarding it, the Israelis. You can't go in, you can't go out, and right now they've cut the aid going into Gaza, which is also part of the deal. It's just yet another violation, because Israel doesn't have to follow the rules, because according to our government and our media, they are superior to us and all other human beings. So the rules are for you, okay? Give me your money, and Israel's not gonna follow any of the rules, and our lawyers that are pretending to be reporters are all going to pretend that they're our ally. So yes, they've stuffed them in there with absolutely no rights, and now they've cut the assistance to about a third of what was supposed to go in there. So now the United Nations and other groups are warning about another famine, a forced famine. Imagine putting people into a concentration camp and then starving them to death like monsters. Only Nazis would do that. And so that is what Israel has become, what they most feared and despised. I hope you're all proud if you're Israeli supporters, because I can't imagine anything more disgusting than this. And people are still defending this? How deeply immoral do you have to be to defend this?
They don't even have the capacity to realize that they're immoral. They're incapable of feeling any shame. And so I'm already at a point, Cenk, where I don't expect Zionist-controlled media, and that's our legacy media, to report the truth about what's going on. And I don't expect people who have defended Israel throughout all of this to ever have a, come to Jesus moment where they realize what's going on is deeply, deeply immoral and inhumane. But with that in mind, I think that it's pretty clear what the end game is here, because all you need to do, guys, all you need to do is listen carefully to what Israeli ministers and members of Netanyahu's cabinet say out loud almost every single day. So the plan is to cram these people into concentration camps, but then what's the end goal? Are they just going to stay in those camps? No, there's a plan. Let's take a look at the next video.
The board is also out of money. The billions of dollars countries pledged have not arrived. A sign, perhaps, that there are growing doubts that the board can deliver. Israel is clear, though, on its preferred path forward.
So what remains will be ruins. In the end, there will be immigration from there.
Cram them into camps, torture them. A bunch of them will probably die under those conditions, and then force them out of the Gaza Strip. That is the plan. I mean, can you imagine a situation in which Israel openly confesses that they will take control of 100% of the Gaza Strip and allow Palestinians to remain there? Of course not. And if you're saying, Anna, come on, be fair, okay? You're engaging in hyperbole. Netanyahu said 70%. He didn't say 100%. Okay, well, I bring you Graphic 7. This is an Israeli publication, Israel National News, and they reported on a minister in Israel who openly said that Israel on the path to 100% control of Gaza. So this individual is the energy minister, Eli Cohen, who is a member of Israel's security cabinet. And here's what he said in an interview, quote, "If 2 months ago we controlled 53% of the Strip, about a month ago around 60%, and today we're approaching 70% of the Gaza, of the Strip's area, we already see that we are progressing. I assume you will speak to me again in a few months. Our control of the territory will only continue to expand until we reach 100%. So please spare me the BS about how these are humanitarian camps. They're concentration camps. So the very people who have weaponized the tragedy of the Holocaust to expand its borders and carry out what it's been carrying out, decided, hey, you know what? Why don't we rip a page out of Hitler's book and create concentration camps? The kinds of camps that our ancestors were slaughtered in. Congratulations. So these people are an absolute disgrace. The Israelis, the Israeli government, absolute disgrace. They are the new Nazis. And the next time someone asks me, how could you, it's so offensive that you're calling them that. Well, I mean, what would you call a regime that slaughters people and places them in literal concentration camps? They're the new Nazis. That's the truth.
Yeah, so first of all, who cares about offending Israelis? I mean, that's only a trick that the people in power use to say like, oh no, don't worry about the concentration camp. Don't worry about the 23,000 dead children. You should only worry that, oh, this guy offended the Israelis. And remember, the Israelis are superior to you and everyone else on earth. So offending them is worth more, is a bigger problem than murdering a child. I mean, that's how our media reacts, and tell me that's not true, media. So have you made a giant deal out of congressional hearings? There's story after story after story about 23,000 dead children in Gaza? No. Did you make a giant deal out of people saying that others who are criticizing Israel are anti-Semitic? Yes. You cover that 1 billion times over. Non-stop stories. Everyone's an anti-Semite, anti-Semite, anti-Semite. Everyone bowed to Israel. Oh, the Palestinians are slaughtered and Israel did steal 70% of Gaza and they are starting a concentration camp? So what? I'm a reporter. No, you're not. Bunch of propagandists for Israel, betraying the American viewers and readers and telling you all sorts of propaganda on behalf of another country. So let's again go to facts here, okay? So they say, well, look, you know what? You know, you're quoting Eli Cohen. He doesn't represent Israel. It's just a small part of the government. And Smotrich and Ben Gvir. Well, wait a minute. Now we're at like nearly half the security cabinet, and Israel Katz, the defense minister, and Netanyahu, the prime minister. Well, that's the whole freaking government. But yeah. But the Israelis themselves, they're just such wonderful humanitarian people. They're so misunderstood. That's why 93% of them said that we should start the war against Iran. And of course, their assumption is that we pay for it, we fight it. So 93% of Israeli Jews said, hell yes, war, more war. Give us Lebanon, give us Gaza, give us West Bank, and attack Iran. Those are polls. That's reality. But no. We have to just lie about it. And how are their feelings? Are they okay? How about the Palestinians? Are they okay? Oh yeah, that's just their lives. That's totally irrelevant to an American scumbag politician or media figure who thinks that the lives of other human beings are worth nothing compared to the feelings of the Israelis. Well, you say, okay, but look, Netanyahu, they don't like Netanyahu. He might lose the next election. He might lose it to Naftali Bennett, who is now currently arguing to the Israeli citizens that he's a bigger monster than Netanyahu, that he'll continue all the wars, but will add Turkey on top and maybe Egypt. And the Israeli citizens go wild, yes, more war, right? That's a reality. That's a stone cold reality. We've lost Israel. Israel's right now is in a fascist culture. They're in a cult and they can't see straight. And enabling their worst instincts makes them go further down the fascism road. If you think you're helping Israel by going, attaboy, slaughter more. Yeah, that'll be great for Israel and Jews across the world. When the whole world sees us killing kids, you know what we'll do? We'll accuse them of being anti-Semites and then try to ruin their lives. That'll be a great strategy. I bet people love us after we do that. So this is just disgusting in every way. One last thing, so if you're saying that it's okay for Israel to kill all those kids because they had it coming. I mean, they were going to be terrorists one day, right? Or Hamas was hiding right underneath the baby, right? I mean, they believe this insanity because they want to believe it. They want to take the land. They want to have a greater Israel, and they don't care about Arab lives, whether they're Christian or Muslim. 1%. They don't care about them at all. So when Israelis murder, the IDF murders kids on purpose, assassinates them, headshots and chest shots. That's according to American doctors with overwhelming evidence reported by all the human rights groups, by the way, including Israeli human rights groups. When they rape detainees, when they urinate on people, including kids in the West Bank to try to drive them out. When they murder 1,000 innocent civilians in the West Bank, the same as October 7th, and 1,000 in Gaza since the ceasefire, same as October 7th, are disgustingly corrupt. American media says it's no big deal. Those are just Palestinian lives. No Israelis were hurt in the rape and the slaughter and the concentration camps. So it's all good. Don't worry about it, America. Keep giving us the money for Israel. Meanwhile, pretending to be objective reporters. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.